welcome everybody. Welcome back to the School for Professional Dog Listeners YouTube channel. Today, Julie and I are going to talk about how many people we talk to that actually already seem to be dog listeners, even before having learnt anything formally. And so what do I mean by that? Well, think about those times when you notice a dog's energy shift when someone enters the room, or the tension you might feel in your own body when something just feels a bit off in a training class. Maybe it's that quiet knowing sense that there has to be a better way than commands and temporary fixes. And I love thinking about it like this because it changes everything. It suggests that becoming a dog listener isn't about learning a brand new personality. It's about finally coming home to the one that you already have. So Julie and I are going to dive right into that thought. And just as I was thinking about this conversation earlier, it dawned when it dawned on me that joy of connection and the sort of delight in understanding my dog, and that sense that it was already there and a part of me, was such a realization. That very moment that I'm thinking about, I remember I had goose pimples, I felt really emotional, and I just felt that this was for me, and it almost was me. I even sort of had a sense that I'd found myself, maybe for the first time, or certainly for the first time in years. What did you have a moment like that, Julie, or what was
Yeah.
your moment of recognition?
Yes, I would say I definitely did have a moment like that. And I would go as far as to say that I keep having it as I get deeper understanding and deeper knowing. And it, I keep being reminded in different ways that I'm kind of on the right path with this. The first time I really saw something was with my first dog, Pepsi, and she was struggling with separation anxiety. I got hold of the book called The Dog Listener by Jan Fennell. And I remember I was sitting on stairs because I don't know, something in the book was something to do with sort of status and hierarchy and stuff. And I was like, not sure about that because, hierarchy can have a funny kind of thing going on. And I'm much more of a connector and a collaborator. But I was like, okay, well, let's see. So I went and sat on the stairs with my book to see what the dog would do. And it was actually, yeah, it was dog sitting. So it wasn't my own dog, in fact. It was the dog that I was dog sitting. I think she was called Hope. I just clocked that actually.
No.
Anyway, and she literally, when I sat on the stairs, she went around me and went up to the next step and like looked over me, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I went up onto the step, and then she went up on the step, and we went on like that. And I don't know why it sounds a little bit random, but I just knew there was something in it. I had that feeling as well of like, oh, I found something here that's different. I had spent a long time trying to find something to help Pepsi with separation anxiety. Now, obviously, on the face of it, that doesn't look like it's got anything to do with separation anxiety, but I just saw something bigger and I was like, oh, there's something here that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't it so interesting that when we start talking about this, so many people have their own story about seeing something like that, about feeling that sensitivity towards what is going on with a dog. They're kind of already doing it. Maybe it's subconscious sometimes. And I just feel like there's a lot of people doing that, and they've been doing it their whole lives. And they just, maybe they don't believe in it, or maybe they don't kind of have the language for it because life draws us away from sensitivity and groundedness. Certainly that's how I felt. So maybe it can be that. Why do why do people feel like they've been doing this subconsciously, but maybe they can't explain it to themselves? Do you find that?
Yeah, I feel like there's a general lack of validation for intuition in our world.
Mm.
So intuition, it's intuition, essentially. That's what dog listening is. It's using your own intuition to um to hear what the dog's saying to you, and then dog listening will interpret it. It's a language. It will help you to understand what the dog's saying, but it's your own intuition really that gets you there, looking in the right place, in the right direction. And that, when you're using your own intuition, it feels really, really good. But culturally, we are the loudest voice wins. And often that involves goals and strategies. And in the dog world, sits and stays and come on command and, you know, um, like just this, I don't know, this a lack of understanding for how the dog is feeling. So, of course, training has its place. Even obedience to a certain degree has its place, but not if we're coercing and controlling and dominating. It's like,
Mm.
let's just understand what the dog needs in that moment. And of course, they'll sit down. Of course, they'll come back to you. Of course, they'll walk next to you. There's no, yeah, there's no need for that. But in culturally, we are just, yeah, we just don't live in a world where our intuition is valued.
That's so interesting. You've really made me just think of something that I hadn't thought about talking about actually. And it's that intuition. I remember back when I was younger, sort of school age, I was really into horses.
Mm.
And I knew that I had an intuition going on between me and the horse. I was always given the sort of more difficult horse, or so that was the category in which that horse was put in. I never found them difficult. I just enjoyed being with them and just loved that connection I had with them. So for me, it wasn't difficult. So that was school age. And then I think it was probably 20 years before then, realizing about dog listening, and the intuition came back to me. So in that 20 years, I followed, mainstream, corporate, taken away from nature, and then Chile brought me back to it. Hadn't thought
Yeah,
about that. Hadn't thought about it in those terms.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
and doesn't it sometimes feel when we're talking about that sensitivity and that intuition that it can be a bit of a burden sometimes, particularly when it comes to dogs, where you might feel like the odd one out in traditional dog training classes, because we can feel that dog stress, but maybe no, we're feeling like nobody else can. So, is it true? Do we trust it?
Yeah. And even like feeling frustrated. Like I felt a lot of the time, I just felt frustrated with what I was finding and what I was being asked to do.
Mm.
And when I came across dog listening, yes, of course, there's moments of frustration, but there's this underlying knowing that the dog's best interest is truly at heart. And my best interest is truly at heart. And that's where we connect on a soul level. And that's what dog listening is for me. And that's where, like you say, it brought me back to that. Like I feel like without Pepsi and all the drama that ensued with that, um, with her separation anxiety and couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, then she became reactive and barking, blah, blah. But without all of that, I just don't think I would have come back home to me, to trusting myself, to trust this dog,
Mm.
that she knows what she needs. And once I got the language that dog listening is, it's the language, the interpretation, it was like, well, this feels much nicer.
Yeah.
This feels much more up my street. And if anyone's watching this, then they'll know if it's for you, you'll know because it'll just this conversation will just feel good or it won't. And that's fine because we're not saying it's the only way. We're not even saying it's the best way, but it is the best way for us and for a growing movement of people. It is a way that is ultimately super, super kind for the dog.
Yeah. And could it be that? that feeling of, that feeling of frustration before you know how to put language around it, that feeling of frustration, that feeling of, am I the only one noticing this? Am I the only one sensitive to this? Could this actually be someone's greatest superpower when it
Oh,
comes to dog listening?
100%, 100%, because what we encourage is listening to yourself and listening to your dog. What is this dog trying to tell you? Why is it howling when you leave? Is it doing it because it's naughty and we need to put a spray collar on it and make it stop? No. We need to understand that this dog is worried about you. You've just left and the dog is worried and they want to look after you and you just left. So when you can see that, when that has been interpreted for you, then it makes perfect sense what to do. Like, well, of course you're not going to harm the dog for doing that. You're going to listen and you're going to help them to trust you and you're going to take your time and leave them in small increments and baby steps and all that kind of thing that we go into with dog listening. But 100% it's a superpower. Definitely, definitely.
And so if we have anybody listening right now who feels that pull towards dog listening, but maybe is hesitating, maybe they're thinking they're not quite expert enough, or maybe they don't have it all figured out yet, what would you say to them? Do they need to be an expert to join our school?
No, because I would go as far as to say we're not experts. We're still learning. We've been doing it
Every
like
day.
combined for about 30 years. It's like, yeah, there are the only expert in any of this is your dog. That's it. That's the only expert, and they will be your guide. So, yeah, I mean, if anybody is feeling drawn to it, then yes, I know you've got a good first step that people can do to see if it is really for them and that
Yeah.
they want to, come on board and join us and, get involved with all of this and really go for it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got new intakes starting regularly. So I think if you've been listening to this and nodding along, if you're recognizing that quiet sense of knowing that we talked about, maybe you can take this as your sign. And so why don't you take our quiz? It's really short, it's really fun, and it's a really great way to check if this might be the right next step for you. So we're going to put a link to the quiz in the description below. So head on over there and see what you think, see what it comes out as for you. But thank you everybody for being with us today. As ever, please like and subscribe. We're going to be back soon with another video for you all about the growing dog listening movement. So we'll see you all then. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ellie.